Hey, if you're in Virginia Beach or Richmond and you want to buy a single ticket to our stand-up shows, you can do so now. Single tickets are now available in Virginia Beach and Richmond, and we'll see you on October 16th in San Jose, California. So they passed a law in California here at the behest of Big Pharma to control what doctors are saying to their patients, and so they can't say anything that Big Pharma is against when it comes to COVID. That's what this is. Newsom, our governor, signs a bill to police California doctors on COVID-19 misinformation. Why do they have to police doctors? Was there a big outcry from the citizenry saying my doctor lied to me about COVID? I didn't hear that. You know who did lie about COVID? Dr. Fauci, Dr. Collins. Those are the people who lied about COVID. You know who lied about COVID? Dr. Fauci lied about herd immunity. Dr. Fauci lied about masks. Dr. Fauci lied about gain of function, funding it. Dr. Fauci lied about the origin of the virus, Wuhan lab. Dr. Fauci lied about natural immunity. They lied about everything at every turn. They lied. And I know he lied about masks. I know he lied about herd immunity, Dr. Fauci. He admitted it. He said he lied about those things. And they're going after your doctor, not because your own personal doctor is giving you bad advice, but because Big Pharma wants to control it so they can make more money. And if you don't think that's what this is, then I bet you don't think the president's demented. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill that will subject doctors to discipline and possible suspension of their licenses.
Weren't they already kind of slinking around whispering if they had doubts already?
There was already pharmacies that would not fill ivermectin prescriptions, and they came after doctors who were prescribing ivermectin. Now, I was in a study because I was injured, and they were trying out different drugs. So they're studying ivermectin to see if it works.
Right.
Officially, according to the official FDA CDC, which is funded by Big Pharma, the official word is it doesn't treat it.
Right.
But that's what this is about. Doctors still prescribe it. I got it prescribed because I was in a study.
So was that study, would they get in trouble for that study?
So they didn't want people studying it. They don't want it. They're okay. I am signing this bill because it is narrowly tailored to apply only to those egregious instances in which a licensee is acting with malicious intent. They didn't give us any examples of this. This is the government telling your doctor how they can practice medicine.
Why have I heard this before? Like this abortion thing,
these aren't this isn't a board of doctors. This is the government. These are fucking politicians doing this.
Well, it's a pharmaceutical company who owns
the politicians.
And then, right?
So if you are acting with malicious intent, what doctor does that?
Towards Pfizer.
Or clearly deviating from the required standard of care. You mean the standard of care that was approved by Big Pharma. So if you go against the standard of care that's approved by Big Pharma and the government politicians that are bought by Big Pharma, you're in big trouble. Really? I didn't know there was a big groundswell of patients upset at their doctors about COVID-19 and them lying to them. I didn't know there was.
Yeah, no.
There isn't.
I've heard of patients that heard about another patient who went to another doctor and they don't like what that doctor said to that patient and they're upset on Twitter.
Yes.
I've heard of that.
Newsom stressed that this bill does not apply to any speech outside of discussions directly related to COVID-19 treatment.
Well, that's weirdly specific and almost like a plot then, isn't it? That's really weird.
That's not suspicious.
Shouldn't you
place
like the plastic surgery industry in here?
It's right out in the open.
Why would you just make a law for that one thing?
And still, my comedian friends are still too big of fucking gutless pussies. They're not going to do a video about this. None of them are gonna. They're gutless fucking cowards, gigantic pussies, comedians. They're not going to even talk about this. They're not going to talk about this. that now that the government is so corrupt that they're doing it right out in the open. They're doing it right out in the open.
Listen, I know John Fugel's saying isn't the
the California bill aims to silence doctors. That's what this bill does. This isn't about protecting you. This is about protecting the profits of big pharma. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, he's one of the Barrington Declaration doctors who was smeared by Dr. Fauci and Dr. Collins. He says the California bill aims to silence doctors who dissent against destructive public health directives. Its supporters like the NFLD.org slander doctors and dissents and seeks to jail those who disagree with them. That's what this is about. So if you had a different idea, if this guy, he goes on CNN and he tells people, I wouldn't recommend the boosters for healthy kids. Watch this.
So the idea is there. The panel is meeting today. It's likely that they're going to recommend, right, this booster that does specifically target Omicron. So when people are trying to understand the difference, how do you explain it to them?
Well, here's what I would say. I think the question is who really benefits from another dose. I mean, the CDC has shown that people who've gotten 3 doses are generally are less likely to be hospitalized than those who got 2, and those who got 4 were less likely to be hospitalized than those who got 3.
And that's all they tell you at the CDC and the FDA and Fauci, is that the people who got 3 are less likely to be hospitalized. But this is the question they never answer or even talk about, is this.
But who are those people?
Who are those people?
Who are those people
who benefited from the booster? Who are they? He's going to tell you.
Getting hospitalized. It really falls into 3 groups. One is the elderly, meaning people over 65. 2 is people who have the kind of serious health problems, say chronic lung disease, which when they get a mild or moderate infection, lands them in the hospital. And 3 is people who are immune compromised. I think what the advisory committee is going to be.
So he's saying that's who they showed the boosters helped. Are you in one of those categories? Are you over 65? Do you have an infectious lung problem? And are you immune compromised? If you're not, this is what he says.
Putting on later this afternoon is are we going to allow distribution of the Moderna vaccine for everybody over 18, of the Pfizer vaccine for everybody over 12? And what I fear is that they're going to say everybody should get it, when in fact a healthy young person really is unlikely to benefit from a booster dose. And so I hope they target it more specifically to those really who are most likely to benefit.
So now he's contradicting the FDA and the CDC. So now, according to the California law, they would suspend his license. They could suspend his license. They could discipline him because he's going against what Big Pharma wants him to say. And what Big Pharma wants him to say is what the CDC and the FDA say, because they're captured.
Is she, is the punchline, she makes the call of the cops on air?
I think she has to call the cops on the air. And you go, well, well, they should. Why don't they discipline some crazy fringe doctor like this? Obviously, he's a crazy fringe doctor, right? So he doesn't recommend it. Who is this guy? Oh, well, he's an American pediatrician specializing in infectious diseases, vaccines, immunology, and virology. He is the co-inventor of a rotavirus vaccine. He is the Maurice R. Hillman Professor of Vaccinology. He is a professor of pediatrics at the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania, and he's the former chief of the Vaccine Education Center at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and he's been a member of the CDC Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, and he's going against their recommendations. That guy would be now punished by a bunch of bought politicians like Gavin Newsom. This guy would be punished for doing that because this goes against the official recommendations. He's breaking a rule. This is the world we're living in now that is completely corrupted by big pharma money. They're fucking criminals. And they get comedians to repeat their propaganda. That's who Paul Offit is. Here's another thing. This is Robert Malone, who I had on this show about a year and a half ago, who explained to us that you're never going to be able to get out of this pandemic by vaccinating your way out of it because it's a leaky vaccine. He explained that to me, and it took over. Still, people don't know that. That's why people are asking for vaccine mandates still, because they don't know that no matter how many people get vaccinated, we're never getting rid of coronavirus, COVID-19. They don't know that.
Also, at this point, because I had it, I had my shots and I've had it.
Yeah.
I just got better. It was
like a mild cold for you.
I mean, it sucked, but it wasn't anything like, I wasn't even coughing, or it wasn't in my lungs. So, why would I even, I don't know.
There is absolutely no scientific or medical justification for vaccinating children, in my opinion. This man must be stopped. So that would be made illegal. So that guy actually holds patents. That guy actually helped invent the mRNA vaccine technology. That guy. He's one of the first ones working at the Salk Institute. The guy who invented the polio vaccine. He was working there. That guy. Where does this guy work? He's never worked anywhere. This guy's not a doctor. He doesn't practice medicine. This guy's a corrupt piece of shit, completely bought and paid for by Big Pharma. So Big Pharma doesn't want you to be for that guy to be able to say that. So that's why Governor Newsom and all the politicians in California who are bought by Big Pharma passed that law.
What is it called? 948AB, brought to you by Pfizer?
Brought to you by Pfizer.
So if all goes well and we get the regulatory approval and the recommendation from the CDC, it's entirely possible, if not very likely, that vaccines will be available for children from 5 to 11 within the first week or two of November.
He says there's no scientific or medical justification for that. California, the governor and the government doesn't want him to be able to say that without losing his license. Feel good? Feel good about voting blue in California? Supermajority Democrats, by the way, and a Democratic governor. And now you wonder about what is fascism? Well, the fascism is when the government corporations conspire to screw you. And that's what's happening in California. That's what this is. This bill isn't to protect patients. This bill is to protect big pharma profits. Even someone like this doctor, Leana Wen, or Lena Wen.
She the one they all turned on because
she was the one who was super pro-COVID lockdowns, masks, all that stuff. Then she found out her kid suffered verbally from wearing masks and is way behind. And then she started to look into the COVID policy. Just like when I got injured, I started to look into the COVID policy, and I found out that they were lying and they were wrong about everything. She did the same thing, and now she says California's anti-misinformation bill is well-intentioned, but it's a bad idea. What? She's a CNN doctor who gets to write op-eds in the Washington Post. She's a fastball down the middle frickin' doctor now, and she was super pro-COVID, lockdowns and all that stuff. While well-intentioned, the legislation will have a chilling effect on medical practice with widespread repercussions that could paradoxically worsen patient care. So this will definitely worsen patient care, and it's not going to make it better. So this is the government coming together with private corporations to screw you, to make your medical care worse. Why? So they can give more money to their owners, the big pharma. That's why this is happening. Kurt?
It's not well-intentioned, and also, how is it a paradox? Of course it's going to worsen patient care.
Of course it is.
If it makes her feel any better, a lot of people don't have insurance, so.
Yeah, if it makes her feel better. Don't forget, the FDA, two top officials, the person in charge of the vaccine office at the FDA resigned over the boosters. And she worked there for 32 years. So did her first in command underneath her. Also resigned over the boosters. And why? The two's departure was spurred by a disagreement with the White House's premature pushing of the booster shots. So those are politicians contradicting scientists, just like what the politicians in California and Governor Newsom are doing. They want politicians to be able to tell doctors how they can practice medicine, just like this. And they don't tell you that. Hey, the two top heads of the vaccine department at the FDA resigned over the boosters. They never tell you that. They just got those people out, and they got two more lackeys for Big Pharma in. Here's another thing that... so you're not allowed to contradict these guys. These guys you're not allowed to contradict.
There was a study that came out of Israel.
Remember they kept lying about natural immunity? They kept lying about it because they wanted to force you to get a vaccine mandate. They kept pretending that natural immunity wasn't a thing. You know that thing that's been a thing since the beginning of human beings? that once you get a virus, you then built up natural immunity to that virus. They were pretending that wasn't a thing all the way through COVID. And so people were saying, I already had COVID. Why do I have to be mandated to get a vaccine? Don't I have natural immunity? And everyone was saying, you're crazy if you thought that. So he goes on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan brings it up, humiliates Dr. Sanjay Gupta over natural immunity. So then he brings it up to Fauci. Watch this.
About natural immunity. And basically the headline was that natural immunity provides a lot of protection, even better than the vaccines alone. What are people to make of that? So as we talk about vaccine mandates, I get calls all the time. People say, I've already had COVID. I'm protected. And now the study says maybe even more protected than the vaccine alone. Should they also get the vaccine? How do you make the case to them?
You know, that's a really good point, Sanjay. I don't have a really firm answer for you on that.
Well, he's a great doctor.
So if somebody would have advised their patient that you have natural immunity because you already had the COVID virus, and so you should take that into account. If you think you need a vaccine, you already have natural immunity. They knew they did. He knows that. It was in the Pfizer trial data. They suppressed it. So these guys are all liars. And now the government is making it so you can't contradict Big Pharma's paid liars. This guy's a liar, that guy's a liar, and this guy's a liar. And he got his ass handed to him by a pothead comedian on a podcast. That's how big of a fucking Big Pharma shill liar this guy is. And now in California, super blue, all Democrats, that's how you're 100% corrupted. So if you're a person who lives in California, like all my ex-friends before COVID, and they're all Democrats, and they all vote Democrat because they're good people. They're good people. They vote Democrat. Now, you're voting for fascism because that's what this is. Congratulations. You want to see who's the real liar? But believe me, Governor Newsom will never, ever take this guy's license away for lying, even though he's a big liar.
People should not be walking around with masks.
What?
Let me just state for the record that masks are not theater. Wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and masks are protective. But it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
There has not been any indication that putting a mask on and wearing a mask for a considerable period of time has any deleterious effects.
There are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course.
Oh my God.
You do not need to wear a mask indoors if, in fact, you've been vaccinated. Good that you're vaccinated, but in a situation where you have people indoors, particularly crowded, you should wear a mask.
So even if you are vaccinated, you should wear a mask. If, in fact, you are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you are protected, and you do not need to wear a mask outdoors or indoors. When the children go out into the community, you want them to continue to wear masks.
You know, if you look at children outside, particularly when they're with the family, walking down the street, playing a game or what have you, don't have to wear a mask.
The Academy of Pediatric actually makes that recommendation that children should be wearing masks from 2 years old onward.
And you're asking now, if your child is a member of your household, can you walk outdoors with your child without a mask? According to that chart, the answer is yes.
But the child can't, not to beat it to death.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Because now the CDC says, I think I've got this right. 1 mask is better than 0 masks. 2 masks is better than 1 mask. But you don't have to have double masks. Is that right?
It became clear that cloth coverings that you didn't have to buy in a store, that you could make yourself, were adequate. And then you want it to fit better. So one of the ways you could do it, if you would like to, is put a cloth mask over, which actually here and here and here, where you could get leakage in, is much better contained.
Are you a double masker, Dr. Fauci? It looked like you are.
No, not really. No. I'm just a big liar, hypocrite. By the way, questioning authority has become too much of a good thing, and it's killing people. That's the kind of shit they were writing. Hey, don't go down this rabbit hole. Critical thinking, as we're taught to do it, isn't helping. This is New York Times.
As we're taught, who?
Stop thinking, Kurt. Kurt, stop thinking. What are you going to do your own research, Kurt? Kurt, what are you going to do your own research? Don't you know you're supposed to let someone else do your thinking for you? And it's usually someone like Bill Gates. That's who's supposed to do your thinking for you. Dr. Fauci or Bill Gates. You're not going to actually do your own. You're not going to read. Are you, Kurt?
Well, I don't understand why they think I was taught critical thinking. I was raised by good people.
Forbes tells you must not do your own research when it comes to science.
Look at the science blurb down there. The universe is out there waiting for you to discover it.
But don't do any research to discover it. But don't do any research. That's what it says right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking to someone else behind you. You stay, keep your head down.
The universe is out there waiting for you to discover it. Don't do your own. What are you reading?
I wonder who Ethan Siegel is.
He's someone who's gets big pharma money to write stuff like that.
You must not. I like that one. You must not. It's not even like a, hey, look
do
out.
your own research. You must not. Don't look into things.
Research, not even once.
Could you that it's like they in an effort to fight dumb redneck Trump voters, they embraced anti-intellectualism. But the irony.
Do those Trump voters read Forbes? I don't think they do. This is to people, your friends. This is your friends that don't talk to you. That's who that's
right.
to.
That's what this is about. This is about them trying to own the Trumpers by talking to each other in a bubble, shitting on them. Don't really doing your own you're too dumb to do your own research. Wow. I did
my own research and said to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I was wait.
How would I know if I should get vaccinated if I don't research it? Just to do what the man on the TV said.
They didn't even watch the man on the TV.
I think that's always been, isn't that the mantra of the kids today? Do what the man on the television says. Isn't that how you know you're a grown up, when you just don't do you just do what the man on the TV says without thinking? I'm pretty sure that's how you know.
Not for TV, probably other mediums though. Sure, TikTok and such.
We're doing stand-up comedy in Virginia Beach, Richmond, Virginia, Arlington, Virginia, San Jose, California, Miami, Florida, West Palm Beach, Denver, Palm Springs, Austin, Texas. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets. And while you're there, join our premium program. You get to see my new stand-up special coming out.